Whether you're currently running Instagram ads right now or you're just trying to get some information and trying to make the right decision on whether or not Instagram ads are right for your business, this episode can help. Because in it, I'm going to be sharing some of my top Instagram advertising tips and strategies. Lessons I've learned after years of owning and operating an online advertising agency and after having created countless 5, 6, and 7-figure generating Instagram ad campaigns. Let's get to it. Hey there, my name is Adam Earhart, marketing strategist, and welcome to The Marketing Show, where we help you grow your business by generating more leads, customers, and sales. So, if you're interested in learning the latest and greatest marketing strategies, tools, tips, tricks, and tactics, well, you may want to consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss a future episode. Alright, let's talk Instagram advertising, specifically some of my top tips and strategies that you can use to immediately up-level your Instagram ad game. It's no surprise that Instagram has quickly become one of the most popular and also one of the most profitable social media networks available. But what many are still failing to capitalize on is the incredible power of the ad platform behind Instagram. There's a ton of really good organic Instagram marketing tips out there. Things on creating better design and how to use proper hashtags and things like that. But what many people are still really failing to realize is that if you really want to throw gas on the fire and accelerate your results, really grow your business quickly, well, there's really no better alternative than a paid strategy. And in this case, Instagram ads. So that's what this is about. That's what I'm going to share with you now. And we'll dive right in with tip number 1, don't promote. Now, I fully appreciate it's a little weird to make an episode about Instagram advertising and having the first tip be don't promote, but let me break it down on exactly what I mean. You see, just like with Facebook ads, when someone's first getting into the platform and they're starting to test the waters and experiment with some of the advertising options available, well, Facebook gave you that boost post option, that really tiny little blue button you can just push and automatically Facebook's going to go and blast your content out in front of more people. However, this little boost post button burned a lot of people. Essentially, the targeting options just aren't there was no real strategy behind it, and so a lot of people just ended up wasting a whole lot of money boosting posts that nobody really saw and certainly nobody engaged with. Well, Instagram is not immune to that, and they've got their own version of the boost post button known as the promote button, a tiny little blue button that you can push to automatically start running Instagram ads quickly and easily. Unfortunately, this is also probably one of the least effective ways to run an online ad campaign. Sure, they've streamlined it and made it a little easier and increased the targeting options and essentially made it more effective than it was before, but that's not really saying much because there's still much better options. So the right way to do things here is to not use the promote button at all, but rather to build the campaign strategically through the Facebook Ads Manager. Now, if you're brand new to Instagram ads, I can almost hear you saying, what are we talking about Facebook for? But the reality is that Facebook owns Instagram, and all of your Instagram ads are going to be created and run and managed and optimized through the Facebook Ads Manager. So you're going to have to do all of your creative and all of your content right through that platform. This, however, is a really good thing because the Facebook Ads Manager is one of the most robust and one of the most detailed and highly targeted options available when it comes to advertising today. So please, do me the favor and don't get lured into the simplicity and the ease of that promote button. Rather, spend a little more time, build out your campaign correctly, and you'll make sure that you're getting far better results and certainly more accurate and more trackable and more scalable results, definitely in the long term. Alright, so the next tip that you're really going to want to deploy here is to warm them up first. Now, when it comes to running Instagram ads and essentially ads in general, you really have to be aware of what exactly it is that you're trying to sell and how much of a barrier or how expensive your product is going to be to the market. Basically what this means is if you're trying to sell something that would be considered low ticket or low price, like a t-shirt or a book or something like that, well then there's no harm in essentially coming right out there and asking for the sale right off the bat. Pretty much everything else, though, is going to require some kind of nurturing or indoctrination or educational sequence that's going to warm prospects up and really work them through that know, like, and trust factor so that they'll be more inclined to purchase from you and do business from you. This is especially true if your product or service costs hundreds of dollars, or thousands of dollars, or tens of thousands, or in the case of some B2B businesses, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. This is why if you're selling something more expensive, it's really important to have that warm-up or indoctrination sequence all built out so that you can offer them something with a much lower barrier to entry right at the beginning and then work them through your process later. Alright, this next tip should come as no surprise, but when it comes to Instagram, advertising, design matters, and it matters a lot. Basically, the nature of the beast is that Instagram being a visual platform, we really do have kind of a limited space to prove our point and to make our case through our captions or through other forms of text. We really have to do most of it right there on the image itself, or if we're using a video ad, right in the video itself. Keeping in mind that a lot of people watch these videos on silent, so you're still going to need some kind of captions, which is going to limit the amount of text you can cram in there. This is why it's really important to test all sorts of different creative and really spend a lot of time dialing in on exactly what kind of visual aesthetic and what kind of design you're shooting for that's going to likely give you the highest likelihood of conversion with your prospects. One tool I absolutely know and love is InVideo, which allows me to quickly create feed ads and story ads and leverage all sorts of different video templates, so I'll make sure to link that up in the descriptions below. Another option is Canva, which is a free online tool which comes again with all sorts of different templates that you can just plug and play different images and text to create them that way. You obviously need to create something that's going to catch someone's attention, and then you're going to want to measure whether it's working or not by looking at the analytics, but more on that in a minute. The point here is that design matters. It matters a lot. So if you're going to be running Instagram ads and putting money behind them, well, it only makes sense to put a little bit of extra time and money and energy behind the creative itself. All right, moving on to our next tip, you need to know your ad's role. You see, when it comes to Instagram advertising and advertising in general, your ad really only has two goals. Number one, to stop the scroll, and number two, to get the click. That's pretty much it. First, let's talk about stopping the scroll. See, all you really need to do is think about how you engage with Instagram, or if you don't use Instagram a lot, well then think about how a potential user is going to engage with Instagram, and they're going to be thumbing through that scroll and thumbing through that feed at lightning speed. So you really need to come up with that creative like we just talked about that's going to stand out, it's going to get their attention, and it's going to stop the scroll. Once you've managed to stop the scroll, well, step two is to entice them and engage them and pique their curiosity just enough to get the click. That's really it. You don't need to make a case for your service, you don't need to list out all the benefits of your product, and you certainly don't need to try to make the sale right there in the ad. All you need to do is stop the scroll and get the click. Let the landing page or the sales page or the email follow-up sequence or the retargeting ads, well, let them build and nurture and indoctrinate and educate the customer and essentially take care of the rest of the process. One of the most common novice advertiser mistakes that I see time and time again is trying to get the ad to do absolutely everything in just one little ad. Trying to pack in all sorts of different information and trying to make the sale right there and including way too many calls to action, which essentially just leaves the viewer confused and doing nothing at all. So keep your ad clean, concise, and really clear, and really express what you want them to do and really just focus in on that. All right, let's move on to our next tip, which is to really identify your ideal customer avatar. No episode that talks about advertising would be complete without referencing one of the most important aspects of all, which is clearly identifying your ideal customer avatar. Essentially, a fictional representation of that perfect customer or client that loves you, loves what you do, is happy to pay you for the value you provide, and wants to tell absolutely everybody about just how great you are.
And you are pretty great.
To develop an ideal customer avatar, you really want to take a look at your top customers and clients and really identify the common characteristics between them, whether that's demographic details like age, gender, income, occupation, title, things like that, geographic details like what city, state, province, or country they live in, and psychographic details like what are their attitudes, interests, beliefs, organizations, or affiliations. The better that you know and really identify with your ideal customer avatar, well, the better and more relevant you're going to be able to make your creative and your ad copy, which again is going to be more likely to get them to stop the scroll and get the click. Also, as I already mentioned, Instagram ads being run through the Facebook Ads Manager, well, Facebook ads have one of the most robust and detailed targeting options available. So the better you're able to really dial in on exactly who it is that you're trying to reach, well, you're going to be able to take that data and plug it right into the Facebook Ads Manager to show your ad to only your most perfect prospects. All right, the next tip that I need to share with you is that budget matters. Now, one of the most common questions I get when it comes to Instagram ads is, what's a reasonable budget, and can I still be effective with a smaller budget? And the answer is kind of yes and kind of no, so let's dive into that now. When it comes to Instagram advertising, starting with a small budget is perfectly okay, and many times it often makes sense, because you don't want to risk a ton of money if you're not really sure what's going to work and what's not. That said, you do need to provide Instagram with a large enough budget so that they can optimize for, because if you don't give them enough of a budget, well, they're not going to be able to give you enough data, and then the algorithm isn't going to be able to essentially position your ad where it needs to get the best results. You see, you need a large enough budget so that not only can you give Instagram enough data for them to properly optimize the algorithm, but also so that you can get enough information in return so that you can decide what the winners are and what the losers are and how to improve them. All right, this next point is pretty advanced, so if you're brand new to this, maybe tune out for the next 15 seconds or so. Or you can stick around because you never know what you're going to learn, right? Basically, when setting your ideal budget, you want to make sure that it's going to allow you to obtain between 5 and 7 conversions per day. So if, for example, you were expecting to be generating $5 leads, well, you'd want to make sure that your budget was between $25 and $35 per day. And the higher the better, because it's going to be giving Instagram more information for their algorithm to properly optimize. Now you can do less, of course, and have a budget of $5 or $10 or maybe even $15 a day, but just understand that you're going to be making a trade-off in the amount of information that you're going to be getting back and really trading off on how much the algorithm is going to be able to optimize your ads for. This is why we commonly shoot for a campaign to do between 5 to 7 conversions per day at least, so that we know what kind of information we're getting back and we can decide whether this is a winner or a loser. Also, one more quick tip, we'll typically give them between 48 and 72 hours at this budget range per day before making any decisions, just so we make sure that we're getting sufficient data back. Alright, and the next tip that we have to cover is that you need to know your numbers. You see, advertising without knowing your numbers is a little bit like gambling. So here's some numbers that you want to watch and pay attention to, starting with CPM. CPM stands for cost per thousand impression, or cost per milli, and essentially what we're doing here is we're figuring out right off the bat just how expensive our ad is going to be to show based on the cost per thousand impressions, or how many people are going to get to see it and what that's going to cost us. The next metric that you want to watch is CTR, or click-through rate, and this basically shows how many people that saw your ad actually clicked through it. We're kind of going to be shooting on the low end for around 1 to maybe 3%, so watch these numbers and make sure that a sufficient number of people that see your ad actually take action. The next metric is CPC, or cost per click, and this one is pretty much exactly what it sounds. It's how much it costs someone to click on your ad. Again, you're going to want to pay attention to this one, because if you have ad sets that are generating $1 cost per clicks and others that are generating $10 cost per clicks, well, something's going to be wrong here, and you're going to probably want to turn off the $10 CPC ones. After that, it's CPL or CPA, which is cost per lead or cost per acquisition. This is how much it's going to cost you to get them past that initial click phase and actually get them to take some kind of action, whether it's entering their name and email or maybe even making a sale. Finally is the holy grail of all metrics, which is ROI or ROAS. ROI obviously stands for return on investment, but the more accurate term when it comes to advertising is return on advertising spend. What we're looking for here is essentially putting in some money and getting a lot more in return. So you want to have a positive number here, which enables you to essentially go out and scale your campaign up even further. The point of all these metrics is really pretty simple. Advertising is kind of like a game, and you can't win the game unless you know the score. The next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I have linked up right here when it's released next week, which is part of this Instagram marketing series. It's going to walk you through even more Instagram marketing strategies to help you up your Instagram game, and I'll catch you next time on The Marketing Show. And then after the thank you page, well, this is where the nurturing is going to continue with perhaps retargeting ads or an email sequence or anything else that's going to enable you to continue to